So we're all seeking what feels good. We're all seeking, if you want to call it, a sense of nourishment. To be nourished by life. To feel good. To feel happy. The question is, which self are we nourishing? That mosquito is nourishing itself on the back of my neck. Which self are we nourishing? Are we feeding? Are we attending to? If we're not awakening or awakened as the already fulfilled peace and wholeness of being that we are, then the only self that we have left is the egoic self, which is a construct. And inherently it's empty. There's nothing there. And so it's always seeking to be fulfilled by objects, by the objective world. And that nourishes the egoic perspective, the egoic lack, the egoic wanting. And it's endless. It's never really fully fulfilled for any sustained length of time. But as we awaken to the essential nature of being, we find that in a stillness, in an authentic inner peace and presence that is self-fulfilling. It's the happiness that we're seeking, that the ego is seeking the happiness through the objective world. The soul, source, essential nature of our being is already fulfilled. But if we don't awaken that, come to know ourselves as that, abide that truth, then we're going to feel an emptiness. The phrase, if we are disconnected from our divinity, if we are disconnected from our divinity, we will feel not enough. But what happens is, we have come to believe, because we've been doing it for so long, our experience has shown us, has taught us, that when we're feeling unfulfilled and we seek for gratification, for fulfillment in the external world, and we get the object of fulfillment, we feel at peace again. We feel happy. Ooh, I got the thing. I got the job. I got the relationship. I got the experience. I got the new toy. I got the thing. And now I feel fulfilled. I feel gratified. And I'm happy. Therefore, the thing, the objective world, the experience, the relationship is the cause of my happiness. But that's not actually what's going on. What's happening is when we obtain what feeds the ego feels gratified for a moment, and in that gratification, we stop seeking. And when we stop seeking, we come to stillness. And in the stillness, the essential nature of being is known. Because we're not seeking beyond it. We're not distracted with the seeking. When the distraction of seeking ends, because the ego got its toy, got its experience, the seeking stops. It is the cessation of seeking that is the cause of the happiness, not the object. We stop seeking. We come to rest. So the invitation here is to continue to awaken, to acknowledge, to abide the beautiful essential nature of being that is already happy and at peace. And after a while actually starts to get distracted by the external constant goings-ons of seeking for peace, and finally says, I don't want that anymore. It's getting in the way of the true peace. All the seeking is distracting, veiling the peace that I already am. I don't want all that noise. So this came up the other day in satsang. Mark was talking about being in Vegas with his buddies who were visiting. He lives in Nevada, in Vegas. And so they went to the, what you do in Vegas. They went to the casinos and all that. And the huge external world stimulus environment. And he found that after just a little bit, it was not at all nourishing to him. In fact, it was interrupting his natural nourishment. It was so distracting and so ego-seeking and fulfilling that after a while it's like, no, I just want to go home because I can then be at peace and in stillness with the essential happiness. So this is what starts to happen. We start to be free of all the seeking because that which we are seeking, the happiness, is the essential nature of our being. So I'll give you an example. You may have heard this in some other videos, but it's fascinating. When I used to guide down in Mexico, sea kayaking trips, whale watching trips in Magdalena Bay, and one of my favorite things to do used to be to, on full moon nights, to go sit on top of these sand dunes, these beautiful crescent-shaped sand dunes that swept down into the bay. And on one of those nights, it was so still, sitting under the full moon, I would listen to the whales breathing out in the bay. And little baby whales. And in the moonlight, you could see the mist rising up into the moonlight. And I was so at peace. And what I've come to realize, it wasn't the scenario that was the cause of the happiness or the peace or the joy. As much as it was so beautiful, I didn't want to be seeking anything else. I didn't have any desire to be thinking about the future or thinking about the past, examining my past for happiness, examining my future for happiness. I was present. I was still because I didn't want to miss this incredible beauty. It was the stillness that was beautiful. That was the happiness. And then I remember being over in Nepal. One of my favorite things to do would be to be up on these trails on the side of a big canyon, big river valley, and looking across the river valley at the mountains on the far side. And these clouds would come rolling up out of the river valley. I called them cloud dances. And they would come rolling up out of the river valley. And these big flocks of ravens, 100 ravens, would fly into and disappear into the cloud. And I would just sit and wait. Where are they going to appear? Where are they going to pop out? And then, poof, they'd pop out of this cloud over here. And oh my God, it was just so beautiful and fulfilling. And I was so happy and joyful. And it was the same reason. Because my mind stopped seeking, other than seeking for where the ravens were going to pop out of the cloud. But my mind I was present. I wasn't thinking about what I had to do next. I wasn't thinking about where we were going on the trek today and the destination and where we're going to get there on time. And it would be really nice if we got there in under 4 hours, because then it would be nice. I'd feel better. And what's for dinner tonight? And what did we do yesterday? And what do I have to resolve? All of that seeking for solving the world and manipulating and managing the world in order to make sure I'm happy, all that stopped. I was just present. So still. And the stillness was giving me direct access to the knowing of the inherent happiness that was there waiting. So I invite us to be aware of how we're nourishing ourselves and who are we nourishing. Are we nourishing the egoic sense of lack and smallness and separation and need to be loved, to be worthy, to be seen, to be validated, to be right, to be safe, emotionally safe? Are we scrambling about seeking the satisfaction of the never fully satisfied ego? Or can we start to learn to be with the essential stillness of our being? And we will find that very stillness to be nourishing. The joy is not always in getting the thing the ego wants, even though the ego is happy for a little while. But it's a conditional happiness. As long as the conditions stay positive and good and validating to the ego story, I'm happy. That's conditional. What if we could be unconditionally happy, unconditionally at peace? It's a beautiful freedom to come to recognize and have the direct experience of, oh my God, I don't have to be scrambling, constantly seeking, clinging, managing the world with such anxiety, or with such a fervent, is fervency a word? With such fervency, we'll call it a word. I don't have to be doing all of that to make sure I stay happy, because that's always changing. That's going to be a world of roller coaster suffering, because we can't control it all. But if we can awaken to and as the essential stillness of being, we will find that we're already nourished. And then we can play in the world. We can play with, I'm an audiophile. I love new stereo equipment and speakers, and I love lighting. I love playing with lighting. And I'm moving into a new villa, and I'm going to paint and decorate and create a sanctuary. That's all external stuff. I love doing all that stuff. But it's what I'm playing with as peace. I'm already at peace. I'm already happy, playing in the world, playing with the art form of the world. But not seeking to get all of that done so that I can finally be happy. All right. I hope this was of value, that it made sense. We believe that it is the obtainment of the experience or the object that brings the happiness. It isn't. It is that when we obtain it, we temporarily cease seeking. It is that cessation of seeking that allows us to come to rest in the happiness that we already are. All right, blessings, my friends. Much love. Be well.